What's going on, guys? It's Madman Plant, and we are back here in the podcast studio. And today we got a full house. We got Master Yoda, who just drove down from Connecticut again, and then we got our great sponsor, Legendary Leafies, Steven in the house. Welcome, my dudes.
Sir.
Welcome.
How are you guys doing today?
Sore, definitely. Like, had my, well, I guess this is a bad segue, but had my 9-year wedding anniversary. But I'm only sore because I played Topgolf, not because I put in work anywhere else. But yeah, probably played like over 2 hours of Topgolf. So like my whole core being engaged that whole time, killer. Like I'm just like, like I woke up, didn't want to get out of bed. And I was just like, you know what? I need to get up. Let me get a coffee right quick.
Yeah, they went to Topgolf to play golf on his 9th year anniversary, and his core is sore.
Yeah.
I'll just
From
say,
golf,
Read into that whatever you want, fellas.
I'll just say I used my driver to knock it in the hole.
That's funny. I'll bring this up so I can have the chat here. So today we're going to be just shooting the shit, talking a little bit about Legendary Leafies. We got some packs with us we're going to go over. We're going to smoke a little bit. Right now I've been loading up these King Palms, so everyone in here is actually filled. So grab one. We'll start with one of those. We got the Venti with us, which is a great device. We got a little bit of dab left. So let's jump into it. So how's Legendary Leafies been?
It's going good. I think really having an opportunity to connect with people has been great. I've been personally busy just because of like my family, my wife being in the military, like, and she had a training for like the last 6 months to where it's just been kind of me. So I took a small sidestep in terms of priorities. And then we're moving in July to Florida. So honestly, I think that might kind of help things because it's Florida and it's a lot more like accepted in Florida, even though it's medicinal only right now. But yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of dispensaries out there that are more of like a popular, like there's a Cookies out there, you know what I mean? And in terms of traveling to those places, like it just makes it really easy to go and kind of network and do that type of stuff. Like here, you kind of confined to like either going up to DC or Maryland outside of the medicinal shops, or going all the way down to Virginia Beach, which is like a 2.5 hour drive depending on how you drive it. So yeah, I think once I get out there, I'll be able to kind of establish a little bit more roots and start the growing process, honestly. Like, and that's what I'm really, really crazy excited for, is when I get the opportunity to introduce this to somebody of like significant importance, we'll say, right? Like we were talking earlier, like if I was to get some type of an audience with like weed maps or, something like that, to where they're going to be like, whoa, you know what I mean? Like this is a brand new thing that's interesting, that might bring more eyes to the culture of cannabis and the education behind cannabis, that can segue to understanding. So I enjoyed a lot. Building all of this, like I was talking to you earlier, and, just the things that I plan on doing with the character universe that I'm creating, it's seemingly never ending, which is amazing to me, but I'm also an idea guy like crazy. Like if I see one new thing, I'm like, oh, and I can incorporate that by doing this and do that with doing this. And like my brain is always going, which is, it's great. You know what I mean? Because it allows me to attempt to expand at every turn instead of kind of staying to like one niche. You know what I mean? Like, could I stay in the trading card market only? Yeah, absolutely, in my opinion. But why? You know what I mean? Like, why not branch out, like I've already done, into the comic book universe, into the writing a script for an anime show universe? Like, just branch out into all things, because if the focal point is truly cannabis education and an introduction to the opportunity to gain education in the cannabis industry, like I need to be that deeply rooted, spread out individual that's establishing a lot of different anchor points to be like, hey, like, okay, let's figure out. And not everybody has to have a why behind they smoke, but also having a why really helps with a lot of things. You know what I mean? Like whether it's mental health, physical health, like whatever. And I love like, just obviously growing up watching Cheech and Chong, like that, right? And Tommy Chong says anytime anybody asks him like, hey, why do you smoke? And he's like, it's none of your fucking business. You know what I mean? And I'm like, dude, I love that, because realistically, like at the end of the day, it's not. You know what I mean? But also, if you have a reason that you want to verbalize, that's just as valuable. And again, if I can allow that segue to education, having been someone who was a cannabis hater for decades, you know what I mean? Like I was raised to hate it. I always said, no, it's the devil's lettuce. It's a segue drug. It's da-da-da-da-da, whatever. The social perceptions and negativity that was come to it. And then it was like all I needed was a pathway to introduction about the education behind it and the medicinal quality behind it. And that led me to be like, oh, wow, I need to provide this same opportunity for people that are like me. You know what I mean? Like the people that are walking around bad-mouthing it, knowing nothing about it. And I'm not calling nobody out or doing nothing, but I'm just saying like the me's in the world that love anime, that love cartoonization, that can see things as a segue to education or a segue to an opportunity. And I'm like, okay, I need to do that for as many people like what was kind of done for me. You know what I mean? So it's a lot of fun.
One thing I like about it is your depth. Sometimes people are just creating things to create it. And we talked a little bit earlier upstairs with Yoda and us when we first got here about, the complexity of how to think about characters and what a character has to go through and solving their problems. And even though you're going to figure it out in your head about what's going to do it, is creating those challenges and making it so, your character is not only just the main, person in the story, but it's also somebody you invest in that you can actually follow it. You humanize, the cartoon in a sense. It's like its fears, its intentions, its true things. You talked about like the protagonist. Why do you think that's important to your legendary Leafies, and how does that help you stand out compared to like other storytellers?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I won't say that it makes me stand out in comparison. I will say that it just utilizes the concepts that are already proven methods. You know what I mean? So when you look at character arc building or storytelling, and you can take a lot of it too from biblical reference in terms of the Bible. And I'm not saying I'm aligning the Bible with cannabis, right? But like you can look at the contextual connections and how the Bible connects here, there, and 100 different ways by the end of it. And you're like, dude, how does all that connect? Mm-hmm. Right? And you can be inspired by those accounts as well and say, okay, if I'm going to create a character arc and I have a character that has significant importance, he also needs to have a subliminal message behind who and what he represents. Now, is that a protagonist? Is that an antagonist? Is that a parody character? Is that, you know what I mean? Like, there's so many different ways to build on top of that. And I don't watch like a cryptic amount of anime, but like I watch enough anime to be like, oh wow, I love how, just say Goku, he's just this childlike behavior that just never quits, right? That's like the whole premise of Goku, is that no matter what, he loves his family and friends and he never quits. You know what I mean? Like he's always going to rise to the challenge. He's always going to be the one that says, I'll sacrifice, like that type of storytelling where an audience can fall in love with that character. You know what I mean? But I'm doing the same thing with like other characters too, to where there's going to be characters that are more like the staunch, snobby, like super, and I'm put a comma in between each one of these, like super introverted, very outgoing, very bubbly, because that's human personalities. The more in storytelling, the more human personalities you can authentically align your characters with, it really allows for an additional eyeball to be brought to the table of, hey, what is this? Remember, because that's what I said earlier, is like, I want people to see what I'm doing and say, what is that? Rather than, oh, that's that. You know what I mean? And that's the purpose for zero cannabis or leaf related imagery in the artwork, is to cause people to say, what is that? And then boom, now let's have a conversation about what it represents, what it's done for me. Because when you hear my testimony, you're going to be like, oh, wow, you have a reason. And it makes you, as, you know, we'll say it was a me walking around back in the day as a cannabis hater, I now know why you do it. And I'm more accepting as to why you do it. And then the more accounts, the more testimonies of the whys of other people, then I can gain understanding and be like, oh, I can undersee why people are pushing so much for legalization at a minimum medicinally, right?
Right.
But the recreational side of it as well, being like, hey, it's a plant, you grow it at home, like, you know what I mean? Like, some people, very rare, but some people still grow tobacco at home in this country. You know what I mean? And it's like,
you're allowed to.
Yeah.
You can't sell it.
Yeah.
You can only do it for personal consumption.
So,
but I was thinking about just trying it, just to say
I have a friend of mine that's growing some tobacco.
Interesting.
Yeah. So my state is a tobacco-friendly state, believe it or not. Oh, there we go. Is that better? So my state's a tobacco-friendly state. The tobacco we grow is normally the tobacco leaf that's used to roll the cigars. It's the final leaf. But we can. I think they get weirdness when like you start to dry and cure it or something. Or maybe that's a federal thing. I'm not sure.
No, you're right. I looked into it on ChatGPT, and it's something along those lines of once you start processing it.
Yeah, then you're potentially not following the law to the letter.
We'll look more into this.
We'll get back to you. We're not
right.
We are not your attorneys.
Yeah.
But it's amazing how complex your characters are, and just listening to you talk about the complexity in building a character and whatnot. Like I've never heard someone kind of break down and dissect the parts of storytelling and character building like that, and that was like mind blowing. That was really cool.
Yeah, appreciate it.
And I love the fact that you are doing something that normalizes cannabis.
Yeah.
Right, and gets it potentially into the mainstream and makes it where I want to be able to go and I just celebrated my birthday not too long ago, and we all went to dinner. And everyone at the table, just about, except for myself and my husband, were the only two people that weren't drinking. We just drink water. We don't drink alcohol. And it's cool. Like they're all at the table, they're drinking their drinks. But here I am at my birthday dinner at this restaurant. I gotta sneak out to get a puff. And like that's kind of uncool. I mean, granted, I'm not saying we should all be in smoky cannabis filled restaurants, but I mean, like, it would be nice if we could have gotten a table outside and like, they could have their drink, I could bring my vape, we can all kind of kick back and enjoy, the substance of our choosing to relax and let our hair down a little bit. Yeah. So
no, absolutely. And I agree with that totally. Especially like my grandma, she just passed like a month or so ago.
Oh, sorry about that.
No, it's fine.
You say it's fun.
Yeah, it's fine. I'll just go dark hole.
Yeah.
No, but dude,
I feel nothing.
She hated cigarettes for her whole life, and then she turned like 60 something, and just started smoking cigarettes. Right. Like she was the type of person, and I'll segue full circle into what we just said. She was the person that would walk behind somebody smoking out, like walking and smoking, and be like, just out loud. Like she's Mexican. I'm Mexican, like a little bit, but she was more obviously. But she would be like the petty, like I'm gonna say it out loud to make it well known that I'm saying something to you, and that would be the only thing. Being somebody who is still learning more about cannabis and everything, like to your scenario, is it would almost have to be like a cannabis friendly like restaurant essentially, you know what I mean? Because
you should use that lighter.
Because I can agree and disagree in part scenario with like the smell associated
Right.
with cannabis, right? In being in an out in town environment, you know what I mean? Like I can agree and disagree on different premises depending on what, where, why, all of it, right? That would be like the only thing though, because it's like I firmly believe that if somebody, and I'm not a big drinker at all, like
Right.
I might have a drink like once every 6 months, but yeah, if I could socially smoke and it not be an issue,
Yeah.
like, and that's why I enjoy the vape pen style things, because they don't put off that pungent aroma, and you can still get what you want.
Exactly.
So, yeah,
Yeah. I highly recommend you try the what is it, the Puffco Proxy. It's a
that's
little
like one of those.
No. So it's the small one. It's not the Puffco Plus. It's a Proxy, and it's about the same size. It's the size of about a pen.
Yeah.
But you can put a little dab hit in there. Fits in your pocket, and it hits like a champ. I mean, it hits. I'm not gonna say it hits as hard as that, but it hits close to that.
Yeah, I've still personally never done a dab. Like I'm a guy that's like thankfully blessed, one, to have a decently low tolerance still, and two, like what I smoke for it gives me everything that I want.
Okay.
To where it's like I'm not necessarily searching for an additional experience outside of edibles. So like when I went to last year, it was like August sometime, I want to say, I went to a Cannabis event up west of DC, and somebody had tea, like
Okay.
infused tea, and they were like, yeah, you know,
Cannabis infused tea.
yeah, like THC infused
Okay.
tea.
Okay.
And they're like, hey, do you want this? Like, I'll trade you for something, because like a lot of them trade
Right.
at the end of a show or whatever. And I was just like, yeah, I'll trade you some roll trays for it or
Yeah.
whatever, you know. And I waited till I got home and I drank like half of it, and it gave me the same quality of high as smoking. And I was just like, okay, violently interested in this immediately,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
like, not that I'm again, I'm here, like I'm not against smoking, but if I can get the medicinal quality in another way, like hell yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I hear that.
And it just makes it, again, with the fear that is the perception of cannabis, like I still have it. I still at times am like, oh man, are they going to associate me with weed and all the bad things? You know what I mean? It's those,
Right.
like as a business owner, I'm like, am I going to lose friends or whatever? Granted, the friends I have are so foundational and they love what I'm doing and they support what I'm doing. So am I really losing a friend? Maybe not. But at the same time, like I love people at the same time.
Yeah.
So, and I don't want somebody to sit back and be like, oh, he promotes weed, he's a bad person. Like, as a human race, let's just get over that first. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, and we've had generations of propaganda, anti-cannabis propaganda to train people that it's dangerous and it's scary, and which is a lie.
Yeah.
And that's why you get that.
No, you're fine.
Sorry. So, it's just kind of we have to break that stigma and that years of generations of propaganda. What was it? 80 years
Yeah, it's been a long time.
of anti-cannabis back in the Nixon days. I think that's been about 80 years.
Let's
Yeah.
be a nation that doesn't need a crutch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But didn't he like alcohol?
Oh,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
it was the total alcohol.
My man, my man, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's, and I can also see it.
I always love that.
Like when you look at, you being a business owner, and most anybody who's had a business, they can see things as competition threats or things that they feel they can't regulate.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's what I truly believe happened with the government, outside of the deeper conspiracies behind the hemp paper and the, like all that
Right.
stuff. But I'm like, okay, they found something that they can't regulate. And like now it's like, oh no, that's bad. And then once you market it as, marijuana, you change the name and you make it sound foreign and you
Right.
do all this. And then it's like, oh yeah, all we got to do is tell people it's bad for you and it's bad for you. But here, try a cigarette.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Matter of fact, it's doctor recommended.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And tobacco, nicotine is good for men, right? But all the other stuff that they put into cigarettes is what messes you up. Like, So, yeah, it's insane. I mean, you know, having lived it, like, you know, and I talked to my mom. My mom grew up in the 70s. She would have been a teenager in the 70s. And I'm like, Mom, what sucks about the fun that you guys had is that all of you guys did it all too much, too fast, to where it ruined it for any segue of a generation of education.
Y'all fucked it up.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And I get it, because that's when, you know, the quote unquote CIA was flooding the streets with all the drugs and all that stuff, right? Which, you know, I can believe happened, absolutely. But I'm like, y'all just did everything, you know what I mean? Like, my mom would be like telling me stuff, and I'm just like, you did that? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, what? I wouldn't even dare, Mom. Like, what the heck? But you know what I mean? Like, that was the teenage culture. You know what I mean? Like, the bands that were popular were super promoting. It was in every Hollywood movie, whether it was insinuated with drug use or tobacco or like whatever. So like, I get it. You know what I mean? But I think we are at a point now where, and it always feels, you know, over like however many years that I've been actually paying attention to cannabis related stuff, it always feels like we're right on the precipice of acceptance, and then something seems to take more importance, or somebody brings up something new, or you know what I mean? Like, and it's like, at this point we've been flirting with this idea, and we have enough information, science, education, everything behind cannabis to show and prove that if not, it's the most least harmful. You know what I mean? And it's like, I mean, just look at it from a medicinal perspective. You know what I mean? Like you work in mental health. You know what I mean? And I'm sure that you've had things that have had mental health implications either in your life or in other people's life. You know what I mean? Like, and I've dealt with it as well. Like, just look at it from that standpoint. You know what I mean? Like, it's phenomenally recommended. Like, look at the alternative. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, here's some super human-created pharmaceutical chemical that's going to ruin X part of your body after so amount of use. And this is just going to make you feel good and be hungry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
here, kid, take this Ritalin. This Ritalin is great. It's going to calm you down. Oh, don't worry. When you hit puberty, you might want to commit suicide on it, but don't worry about that.
Yeah, the long-term effects of that stuff is insane to me. And I'm like, you know, having watched family members, unfortunately go through like the like child care services because of, you know, just some family stuff, and they ended up getting taken away and got into the system that way. And at the time it was like the late 80s or the late 90s, and that's when Ritalin and Adderall was like, just give it to him, just give it to him, just give it to him, and nobody paid attention to the long-term effects. And it's like, now, you know, you see the long-standing things that it's caused, and you're like, dude, you know what I mean? It's like, maybe cannabis wasn't the answer for that kid or that young developing teenager or whatever, but man, it wasn't that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's insane. And then you look at the, hey, say for me, like, I, you know, Marine Corps veteran, like, we are notoriously stubborn with our own personal health, our own mental health. Like, we're not gonna talk about it because we're supposed to be big, strong men and strong, and, you know, leave me alone, I'll figure it out, right? Like, you look at the people that are like, okay, I don't want to go and get a medical chit for marijuana as a veteran, so I'm just going to get this from my buddy that grows, or this from, you know what I mean? Like, but then you say you take that away from them, and now they're, for all intents and purposes, relatively harmless in terms of, you know, use and medicinal properties, right? You still got to clean out your lungs every once in a while, but like, for all intents and purposes, like, that's what their coping method is. And now you're like, nope, take that away and go do something else. And it's like, what's the alternative? Oh, you want me to be a statistic of a veteran with PTSD or whatever's going on that consumes an absorbent amount of alcohol, and now I can fit a statistic, rather than just be, yeah, I'm a hungry vet that's stoned, and I, you know what I mean? Like, all I did was eat. I mean, you know, having
those damn Cheeto stains, man, they give me away all the time.
Yeah, you know what I mean. And don't get me wrong, like, I would love to lose a little bit of weight. but I also like smoking, and I love Star Crunch, right? Like that's my snacky. But
Star Crunch.
yeah, they're amazing. But I mean, like, I don't know. Unfortunately, I've seen far more military veteran alcoholics that are struggling with issues.
Oh, yeah.
That denounce cannabis. You know what I mean? Compared to the other way around.
Well, I was talking to somebody, and I remember, I think this is in the Navy. If you are out at sea for over X amount of days, they give you a beer.
Yeah.
True. So that's, in essence, you could say that that's the government encouraging them to drink. Which probably, if you're on the boat and don't see land for a really long time, you probably start to go a little nutso. So I could probably get that.
Isn't that what they did back in the day? Is just drink and be on the water?
Yeah. Well, this is more of the reason why they do it, because I had experienced that. Like, thankfully, I got off the boat before we were on there for too long, because the unit I was with was wonderful. But like, it's more of a morale boost thing, right? So it can be 100% perceived as promotion of alcohol consumption, but it's more like, hey, we've been out here for a minute,
Right.
have a beer, you know what I mean? Like, chill out, right? And it's seen as more of like the morale boost instead of like, oh, now granted, are there people that, because you're only supposed to get one or two, right? Are there people that are like, hey bro, give me your ticket, you don't drink, like, you know, you don't drink, hey bro, let me get your beer ticket, and then they're walking around with like 6 beers, and they, you know, they drink and go hide in their little freaking shelf of a bed. But that was the worst and best part about being on the boat, was that the beds were literally like 3 stacked twin sized teeny little mattresses.
Yep.
But at the same time, because you were out on the water, you were being rocked to sleep every night. So if it was relatively quiet, or you got some earphones or whatever, just to be rocked to bed, it puts you back to being a baby all over again. You're just like, all right, cool, boom. Like, really good sleep on the boat.
Yeah.
I just feel like I want to get off, like, and just stretch my legs.
Yeah, right. Be like, let me.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's the thing. When you're on a boat for that long, like, you start getting a little like kooky, right?
Yeah.
Like, you're with the same people, the same thing. It's like Groundhog's Day, maybe.
Yeah, and then
We are on a podcast, Lacey.
that's why, like, that's why that, like,
You didn't did you park in Visitor?
no, I parked on the side of the road.
Right.
Yeah. I saw there was cars there, so I was like, I'm a side park.
Yeah, don't get towed.
Yeah, no. What's it called? That's why, like, when they port, like when I went on the boat, I was only on there for like 4 or 5 days. I couldn't tell you because I didn't sleep much, but when I did, it was great. Again, just because of the wonderfulness behind the unit I was attached to. But when they port in a country, you know, they do like a port call, and like a lot of people, especially the younger aged servicemen and women, like, they go out and they just act wild.
Right.
Because it's like, I'm out of prison, right? Because
Right,
you're on a
right.
floating prison, essentially, with very distasteful food at times.
I thought it was good. I watched that documentary on how they do the aircraft carrier food, and
Yeah.
it actually looks pretty decent. I mean,
It's-
it's not like
It's not
restaurant.
bad. Yeah, I was gonna say it's not bad. It's just like it serves its purpose in terms of like supplying you nutrition. You know what I mean? Like, the government's not gonna be like, hey, steak and lobster every night for you guys.
Literally like?
I mean, we're
breaking
on the
open, like,
ocean.
boxes of MREs and
No,
serving to you, or is it like just like powdered potatoes? Because
Yeah, it'd be
it's
like
hard to
powdered
keep-
eggs that were like stuff like that.
Just add water type stuff.
Yeah. A lot of that. Don't get me wrong, though. There's like food there, right? But like, he gets to, granted, I don't know, but my best friend was on the boat the whole time, and he was like, dude, the food gets so repetitive that you're just like, you start looking, you know what I mean? Like, have you ever gone like a long time? Shit, when I was a kid, I used to eat tuna and not together, but tuna and then top ramen. as a kid
Right,
all the
right.
time, right? And now I hate tuna because of how much I ate it as a kid.
Right.
That same mentality on the boat. Like you eat the same food so
Yeah.
often that you're just like,
Yeah, I'm kind of done.
you know what I mean? Like then you hope that you get like a delivery of like goods or things from your family, or somebody sending you like
Right.
a deployment box that might have some like hot sauce or jerky or things of that nature in there, because it's just changing up that diet that little bit helps.
So you're telling me if I got some friend that's like on like a naval vessel and I send him a care package of like slap your mama, like he's gonna be all like getting little baggies of it. and,
Probably,
like,
yeah,
selling
yeah,
to
see,
his
yeah.
friends. Like, dude, I'll give you a little baggie of slap your mama
Yeah.
for a smoke or
What?
you know.
Well, so actually, on the contrary, well, yeah, I guess as an even trade, depending on the boat that you're on, depending on the command, because a lot of commands will try to shut it down, but like tobacco is one of the highest exchange commodities. Tobacco and energy drinks.
Okay.
So, and specifically like menthol cigarettes. But yeah, like you can get a lot of money deployed for having something that's a high commodity like menthols.
So
dips.
it's like prison.
Yeah, essentially. Right? Like really, no, it really is. I mean, you're on a floating freaking prison, just with a different purpose in a way. But yeah,
Less shanks, more guns.
yeah. Yeah. So, and it's great. Like, I won't even get into the crazy stuff that I've been told happen on boats.
Allegedly.
Yeah. Allegedly, of course.
Yes.
Yeah, it's insane. Thankfully, I was still in my military youth, to where I was impressionable, but also not like, oh wow, that looks cool. Let me go do that. You know what I mean? Like, I was still like, okay, they're getting away with something that may or may not should happen. I'm just gonna stay away.
Yeah.
Use
Those
my-
can of scoops are amazing for filling that too.
Can of scoop right there. Yeah, it actually is perfect, and we use the back end. Oh,
Do you utilize your keef, or is that like a layered one, or no?
I think that has a keef catch on the.
oh yeah.
Yeah. I saw, so, and I don't know if you use it or if you just kind of let it collect. And I screenshotted it because I was like, oh, I wonder how that would work. And me being naive in things still, like,
Naive.
looked interesting.
So honest.
It looked interesting enough to be like, actually, so this person used.
Put a little bit of keef in here.
So they used a pollen press to compress their keef
Yeah, into a little puck.
into
Yep.
a little pile. I was like, oh, that's actually cool. Like, mighty resourceful.
It's hard to do because
Really?
you really got to get it tight.
Okay, yeah.
You know what would be kind of cool? Maybe you need to collab with these guys.
Yeah,
More characters
yeah.
on the back of these guys.
Yep. So I'm talking to
Charlie.
Yep. Is that who the guy is that I connected with?
Charlie's the owner.
Yeah, the one that. Yeah. So I connected with him, and he said he was going to talk to his team, see if they can put something together. You know.
Because I mean, like
Can scoops are awesome.
this dude,
Very
on the
much love
back
them.
of this would be
Yeah.
fucking
Oh yeah.
fire.
Well, just like the unicorn graphic
Yeah.
here. So I sent him I love ChatGPT, but I sent
I
him
love ChatGPT.
a.
Me too.
Actually, I'll just go to the Cannon Scoops page.
Can of scoops.
Cannon Scoops.
Can of scoops. Can of scoops.
Oh, I don't know where the messages went. But I sent him. I used the character that I created for Mendo Breath, and I had ChatGPT take an image of one of these and put the
Right.
character on there just as like a potential product example. And I'd love, honestly, dude, like I'd love to just work with anybody because, like
Yeah.
I said, the more roots you establish, the more connections you establish, like. It's phenomenal because one
Trying to be cute, using the word more roots you establish.
Oh, yeah. Yes, definitely did that on purpose. No, but like, you know what I mean? And me, like, I love just connecting with people. I love people. Like, that's my thing. I love being around people. I love communicating with people. I love sharing my story. I love sharing what I'm doing and why. Like, so I'm like, if we can figure out something that's copacetic between the both of us, like, yeah, let's do it. You know what I mean? Especially if it's financially beneficial for both of us, even
Right.
more so.
Even
Like,
better,
absolutely. But yeah, it's like, why not? You know what I mean? Like, these little guys can go on anything, in my opinion. Because, like we were talking earlier, I'm basically Spencer's, just focused on weed characters instead. Like, this is exactly what my bank told me to say, too. They're like, hey, don't say weed.
Don't say.
Just say, was it? So I trademarked the name, Legendary Leafies, as a plant flashcard name.
Okay.
Which it is.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's a plant flashcard.
Yeah.
And the lady was like, when I talked to her on the phone, because, like, you pay for your trademark, and then they do their investigation to see if it infringes on any other trademark and that, like, all that, right? And she's like, this is probably going to be the best way. And I was like, well, can I still do these things with the trademark? And she's like, yes, as long as you're still using it for the listed purpose, you can also use it for everything else within your business. And I'm like, sweet. Makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, plant flashcards. So.
What's going on, Guronomics? Thanks for checking in.
What it do, broski?
Yeah, no. We need to get him back out here, back to Virginia. Why can't you just be like Yoda? Have a Tesla that drives you state to state.
Yeah.
How many minutes did you actually drive yesterday?
20.
Oh,
maybe.
man. That'd be a life right there.
I'd have like, what, a 7-hour trip?
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah. Actually, I made good time. I think I did it in like 6.5.
I know, you did actually
Yeah.
pretty good. You said you were supposed to be here 11:30. You got here around 10:30.
Oh, yeah.
So almost an
It's
hour
good
early.
time, yeah. Probably lucky.
Right.
Well, depending on the
Well,
route it took you. But
Yeah, it was just missing the traffic.
Yeah.
You know, and I think it was trying to adjust for traffic.
Yeah.
But I was very, very, very lucky.
Yeah. I enjoy driving, but it has to be more than 2 hours.
Yeah.
Like, if it's 2 hours or less, if it's like an hour and a half, I'm like, you know what I mean? But once I hit that 2 hour mark and it's like a 5-7 hour trip, I'm like, you just put some music on and I'm just cruising. Like, especially if I'm by myself.
Yeah.
I'm the Party in the USA guy in the car, like, Party in the USA.
Yeah. Yeah. You just listen to some good music.
Oh, I definitely
just,
jam out.
You know,
Yeah.
jamming
Well,
your
yeah.
beat,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
and, you know, life is good, you know.
Yeah. Well, speaking of AI, dude, like, actually, so it's called, it's a website.
Oh, the AI music?
Yes. The AI music gen. Bro, I've created some songs on there. Like, one of them that, like, utilizes the influence from the characters. And it's like a reggae song. And I'm just like, dude, this is actually pretty lit. Like, and dude, it's crazy because it sounds so perfect. Like, and real. Like, my best friend that's worked in the music industry, like, he's mastered tracks for celebrities. Like, he used to work in LA at a studio. Like, he's like, dude, these literally sound professionally made.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm just like, yeah, it's crazy. Like,
Well, technically they are.
I mean, yeah, professionally by AI,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, AI
like,
controls everything.
Yeah.
dude. Oh yeah, true. Yeah, dude, it's crazy. And like, when we're all done or whatever, like, I'll have you listen to part of it, and it's just so in depth. Like, I create a lot of different type of music on there. Like, I have another, like, a YouTube platform that I'm trying to build up right now before I, like, launch it. But it's about, like, religious music, but from, like, a different, like, it's not all, like, gospel choir-y, bouncy praise and worship style music. A lot of it could be almost like an Ed Sheeran style, but with religious connotation into it. You know what I mean? And it's like, or
Well,
I've
they
I've
have
made
like,
some, like,
don't they have like a whole like religious rock genre?
yeah.
And, like, there's
I mean, you
like
could 3 Doors Down, Creed.
oh,
you know,
those are religious.
Creed. Oh yeah, With Arms Wide Open.
Creed does have a couple of songs that refer to like God and higher power.
Yeah, I mean, I remember like I had a friend of mine that was born again. It was like, yeah, I'm going to this concert, I'm like, I've never heard of this band, and it's like, but I mean, it's all like, hardcore, like Christian rock. It's the whole genre.
Yep. Yeah, it's surprising too, because you can dissect a lot of different songs, especially songs that are like crazy popular.
Oh, look, no, there's Charlie right there. What's up, Can of Scoops? We were just talking about you, bro.
What's up?
This is, you guys know Legendary Leafies. You guys have talked and everything. We were just talking about a little collab that you guys need to be doing.
Hell yeah. Yeah.
You speak of people and then they show up, so that's pretty fucking cool.
Dave Chappelle.
Our smoke sponsor, Can of Scoops. And the Can of Scoop actually works perfect with the venti. You use the back of it. And we made a cool video a while back, which I'll need to repost here. But
well, we could always just make a new one.
We can make a new one. That's right.
Yeah.
And I just sent out my designs, and I'm gonna have some come in. So I'm gonna have the one with the Vindicky Ew. I was gonna do one with SmokeBusters, one with my face.
Yeah, with that.
Yeah,
that'll be cool. Yeah, I got some, and I'll reconnect with Charlie.
Oh, you're working on my skin skills right now. That is amazing.
Yeah, I'll reconnect with Charlie, because like, even having the logo, like all that stuff, you know what I mean? Like I said, like being able to branch out and connect with people. And
he says he's so down to collaborate with you.
Yeah, and these characters.
And he loves your
so
graphics.
Cool, awesome. And they would look so awesome on these,
yeah.
both inside or outside.
Yeah.
I mean, either way. But it would be awesome.
Yeah. Well, and I like it too, because like the characterization allows for more purchasability, right?
Right.
Like it's just like each design. Functionally, this does the same thing, right?
Right.
But it's like, I love this design. I love that unicorn design, and it makes you want other ones. Which now, if we, and they have some really cool artwork on all their things, but like adding an additional character,
right,
to allow for purchasability, like, love it all.
Bam.
Especially if we can figure out like a cool kind of unique way to put it onto there.
Yeah.
I mean, whether it's just say Super Lemon Haze just dead center, just chilling.
Yeah.
Or like a really dope ass like Purple Punch one, which I'll show you actually.
Well, and you when we were looking at some of those cards earlier today, like those characters, like you could have a scoop for each one of those characters.
Yeah.
I mean, like you could do so much with it.
Yeah.
Maybe get a holographic scoop.
I'm starting to get a little excited here. So
that would be really interesting, actually.
Get excited.
A holographic one?
Yeah. So imagine almost like that holographic pattern.
Yeah. That would
there,
be
like
that would
laid
be,
over with the character.
That would be super cool. That would be like,
or just the character
how high
stand.
am I?
Yeah. Oh, shit, this thing's moving. Like, done that before. The very first time I got like super fucking blitzed, I was laying down holding my phone like this, and it felt like my hand was backwards holding it.
Wow.
And I was just like, all right, time for bed.
yeah, totally.
Yeah, this one is this space dude on a banana-looking moon playing with a rocket.
Yeah.
And then the one you have right here.
It's kind of like a kaleidoscope.
Yeah, like kind of like a sunburst type electric. And then they have a couple other ones I have. I have the skull one, and there's one other one.
So this is the...
Oh, yeah,
like
that's
hero
cool.
art.
Yeah, that's
So
very
these are
cool.
like-
Yeah, that's very kind of like Zelda-y kind
bit.
of... not like a ripoff, but like
Yeah.
like I'm a little stoned.
Similar in style.
Yeah.
A little, huh?
So like,
Yeah.
that's Kim Dog.
Okay.
That's Mango, which is the podcast
Okay.
character.
Okay.
That's going to be the main character called Kaylee.
Okay.
Bubblegum, Purple Punch,
Right.
OG Kush,
Nice.
and Super Lemon Haze.
I love that.
So, and then I have so that's the good guy one, and my artist right now is working on the bad guy one.
Okay.
So this is Blue Dream, MK Ultra, Strawberry Cough, GMO cookies. I want to say that character is Thrips,
Right. Oh God.
and then that
I wonder
character,
who loves that.
Yeah.
that character in the far back is an emotion character. Since I'm tying in like
Okay.
the emotional stigmas of cannabis,
Okay.
I'm also having representations to where like say fear.
Okay.
Right? So fear is a character that I've used a different name for to represent fear.
Okay.
But he will inevitably possess one of the
Characters or something.
antagonist characters and try to fight against what the main character is going to try and do. Is essentially the play is the liberation of cannabis, right? But it's all said and scripted in a unique way to where it bleeds super heavy into the actual anime storytelling.
Right. Right.
To where if you look at it from a subliminal point of view and you read into it and you ask questions, then you'd be like, oh wow, you actually have a lot of like pro cannabis policy undertones in a lot of this stuff. Whereas an average anime watcher is just going to be like, oh wow, that's really cool as an anime. You know what I mean? And then if they find that out, that's just another layer of a passion behind the anime that they're like, that's really cool. You know what I mean?
If you have a USB-C, we can plug this into, or this battery's gonna die.
Right under your fillet.
Here we go. We are actually going to cut to my commercial real quick, and then we'll be back. And then we're going to open a couple of the packs. And before we go, Charlie said, absolutely, each card would be amazing with Canascoop. My dream is to make Canascoops collective, wall displays, special editions for events. Let's make both our product collector items.
Absolutely.
All
Yeah,
right.
and then we can put together like serialized ones. If he can find a way to like make like 1 out of 100 and have like a special promotion. You know what I mean? Of like, hey, these can of scoops were only 100 of them.
Right.
And then if you have it as more of a collector item instead of like something that you like use. You could use it, but at the same time it's a collector's item now.
Yeah.
True.
Like, so
No, and that works. There's a breeder that I love, Alabrije Genetics, and every one of his packs comes out with this beautiful pin that's a character of the strain, and Alabrije is like it's a hybrid of 2 or more animals. You said you're partially your grandmother was Mexican.
yeah. So
So
I'm like,
it's very Mexican art.
yeah, okay. Kind of like
so-
Aztec-y, Mayan-ish? Or just in terms of like color scheme?
The hybrid of the animals. Like,
Oh, got you.
That's like it's just when I go to Mexico, like a lot of times you'll see like Alabrije art, which is just that hybrid. So every strain comes with a pin, so it's kind of like, yeah, I want the seeds, but at this point, like I've got more seeds than I'm ever going to be able to grow.
Yeah.
In my lifetime. Especially, I mean, obviously because I'm within my plant limit. Well, I'm actually below my plant limit, but but the artwork of that is so beautiful that I want the pack because I want the pin. I want the and the pack is nice. So I want all of his genetics, but sometimes we can't always get what we want. But
Yeah.
Sure we can. It's called Visa or Amex or MasterCard. You
Yeah.
get whatever you want.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
true.
and I love what Sluggers does too. You know what I mean?
Right.
Sluggers has like a really cool like gold, silver foil, like informational kind of trading card that comes in their little tins, and I'm like, that's actually really cool. You know what I mean? Like me, I won't say never, but I don't plan on having this being sold as something like you buy a seed, you get a this, or like this comes with a seed, because I want it to be a standalone product that you could essentially like buy at Spencer's.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, because they check your age there. It's an 18 and above product.
Right.
Like, so it's like I'd rather it be a standalone product. Now, to say that potentially a dispensary might want to feature it in their dispensary to have more customers come, well, they got to be of age to get in there anyway.
Right.
You know what I mean? So,
Well,
so yeah, I
if
never
they
say
were
never.
like maybe strain specific, like so I just got a Kyle Cushman cut of Strawberry Cough. So like make like that special, like a special graphic for that, right?
Yep.
Or maybe like your Sour Diesel character, would go with like a Sour Diesel strain, and if you get an ounce or half
you
ounce,
get a card. You get a card with it.
Yeah.
Well, and that's kind of been the focus on like trying to build that network of dispensaries that I'm connected with, or at least communicating with in some part, is that I would love for it to be like, say I was to partner with True Leaf, right?
Right.
So take True Leaf, and there's a buttload of locations of their dispensary in Florida.
Right.
But they have some dispensaries in, I want to say Michigan and like California. And say I was to partner with them and get them X amount of their own special cards.
Right.
And they get dispersed to their dispensaries all across the nation. And then now a big part of why I did this as well in terms of creating this is that the trading card community, in terms of like Magic the Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh, like that older group of people that still do that, a lot of them smoke cannabis as well. You know what I mean? Like I'm one of them. Like I never played Magic the Gathering, but I've played other games like MetaZoo, Dragon Ball, like things like that. And the cannabis community is so intertwined into the trading card community that it's like it's basically the same community, just without saying it out loud. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then it's also hard to associate the two together because you have a lot of youth in the trading card community, right? With Pokemon and like things like that. But yeah, it's acknowledging that and being like, okay, these guys are gonna want these things, and it's a way to kind of ease them back from the perception of like the shame you feel when you go to a dispensary. Being somebody that knows what it feels like to be judged for consuming cannabis and like stuff like that, like I want them to feel comfortable when and or if they choose to go purchase, whether it be a vape pen, dab, like whatever, like, and if they use these cards and if they're at the dispensary as a reason to feel comfortable to buy a product that they already use anyway, then why not? Because it makes them feel a little bit less shameful about what they're doing. You know what I mean? And then it's like, hey, you don't have to be closeted. You don't have to self-ostracize yourself for consuming a product that you feel is serving you medicinally or fit. You know what I mean? Like whatever. Right. Like, so yeah, a lot of it is really just trying to destroy that negative persona, that negative perception of cannabis, and saying like, hey guys, like one, it's very engaging artwork, but two, it's like.
Be right back.
I know.
It's like
way
better.
We're gonna cut to the commercial. I'll be right back.
When I get low, there's somewhere I like to go, out walking with my shadow and my garden friend. Oh, Yahweh, I know you got me in hand. Though I am tired, you help me stand. But will I be okay?
What's up, guys? If you're enjoying this episode, then you're going to enjoy our gold sponsor, which is Dry Flower, the original hang harvesting system. If you've ever ruined your flower post-chop or lost your terps to a bad dry, it's time to upgrade. Dry Flower makes the full plant hang drying effortless with tools like their drying arms, the rack systems, and the Cannabis Guardian nets, giving you consistent airflow, zero flat spots, and maximum preservation of your strain's full aroma and structure. Built by growers for growers, Dry flower helps you cure like a king. Our silver sponsor, Current Culture, the gold standard in deep water culture hydroponics. These systems are designed to deliver explosive roots, growth, and nutrient uptake through consistent water circulation and oxidization. Whether you're in a 4-site system for a home setup or a 100-light commercial facility, their undercurrent system and plug-and-play designs make your grow cleaner, faster, and more productive. Precision growing starts at the roots, and that's where Current Culture shines. Legendary Leafies is on a mission to support veterans and break the stigma around cannabis. Through their unique cannabis-themed trading cards, they highlight the plant's therapeutic potential, especially though for those that are battling PTSD and anxiety. Legendary Leafies blends education with empowerment, helping veterans and others feel proud and not ashamed of their mental health journey.
When I get low, there's somewhere I like to go. Out walking with my shadow and my garden friend. Oh, Yahweh, I know you got me in the hand. Though I am tired, you help me stand. But will I be okay?
And we are back here. We got some goldfish in the house. Got some water. It's a lot like camp. We got Yoda and Legendary Leafies in the house. Steven here. All right. So some of these we're going to reserve for some promo videos. But let's just open a pack real quick. We got some goldfish in the house. Just one. Let's do one each.
All right.
So we can save the rest for videos and promo. So before we open it, talk about like the user experience and what somebody gets when they first get the pack in their hand. What are they looking at? What are they looking for?
Yeah. So here's like the very unique blessing behind what cannabis is, and the characterization of it is that, and building this to be more like an educational sports card, the value and or like introduction of the card, or however you want to say that, is totally based on your own perception, right? So if you had like a phenomenal experience with like Mindo Brett, but like OG Kush just wasn't good to you, you know what I mean? Like, then you're gonna love the Mindo Breath card. You know what I mean? Because of the feeling that the strain gave to you. Now, tying a character to that strain just adds to the visualization of that same experience for you. You know what I mean? And vice versa. You may fall in love with the character and be like, dude, I actually want to try that strain now because that character looks dope.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's kind of like the purpose, is being like, hey, this is an introduction to the education, right? To where you see it, you can be like, oh, wow, I have a friend that struggles heavily with, chronic back pain, like, and I just stumbled upon the AC/DC card, which is like a heavy CBD strain.
Right.
Like, I'm actually going to recommend this to them. And then, that person might say, oh, I don't like cannabis, I don't smoke, I don't, whatever. And then you're like, okay, all I did was inform them of something that I saw as a potential assistance.
Right.
They make that choice from there. You know what I mean? And same thing with you. Like, you make that choice. But when you open it, you'll see that there's 4 cards in front, and then there's one holographic card as the 5th card. This as like a promotion trial, if you will. Like the holograph kind of came through a little bit too powerful, in my opinion, kind of like how we were talking about earlier. But that doesn't take away from the unique art of everything. So, and a couple characters have truly changed in terms of artwork, which is kind of like, again, talking about my idea-ness, if you will. But conceptually, they all stayed the same.
So let's go around.
Yep.
And do a couple cards. So we'll start with yours, and then you'll describe yours. You'll describe mine. And
Yep. So I got the original Z, or otherwise can be known as Skittles.
Show the camera.
Oh, yep. Here we go.
Perfect.
Okay. And it's great. Like, it's a Skittle-like character without all the S's for, obvious copyright. And then on the back here, and it gives a little bit of character lore. So it says the original Z, a colossal heart-shaped figure made of vibrant, candy-coated pieces, blending sweet, colorful exterior with an oversized, whimsical presence, because it kind of does look cartoony and playful, right? And then you'll notice that on the back of the card, you'll see, like, mine is a gold ring with a pepper on there to represent caryophyllene as the dominant terpene in the strain, right? And then it tells you to the right of that as well, mine right here has the moon with his eyes closed, representing that it's a indica. And then it says the THC percentage, right? And then it says some stats based on the feelings, the negatives, and what it could potentially help with, right? So it says feelings, relaxed, sleepy, hungry, negatives, headache, dry mouth, and dry eyes, and what it could help with in terms of anxiety, stress, and depression. And those are taken from different sources that are publicly available on the internet in terms of, studies that have been, and reviews on the actual strain itself. You know what I mean? To be like, okay, we've come to a consensus that 60-something% of people have reported that this strain can cause a headache, but it also helps with anxiety. You know what I mean? Like, things like, or it helps with PTSD, but, you know what I mean? Like, that way it's given the pro and the con to it as well. So, but that's what I really enjoyed about creating it, is that it's a visual segue to education.
Very cool. All right, and do the same thing to Yoda's card in short description.
Yeah.
But
You
like,
want to pick
So
one of
yeah, I
the
was gonna say
cards, or-
we can kind of go through a few of them. So this is Pink Kush, right? So Pink Kush I created because it was really hard to establish a character or some type of representation for the word Kush, because obviously pink
Right,
associate
right.
you automatically, you're gonna get something pink.
uh,
But then all I did was take the word Kush, and I was just like, okay, how do I make that into almost like a character representation? And I was like, oh, the Kushites, basically like a Egyptianish
Right.
kind of era, or people. So I was like, okay, let's create something that has that vibe to it. You know what I
Okay.
mean?
Okay. Now
So-
now that you explain it, you
Yeah.
just educated me. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. And this character has changed in stance of artwork,
Right.
but the character concept remains 100% the same. So again, with this one, the dominant terpene in Pink Kush was myrcene. It's a hybrid strain because this one has the sun and moon, and
right.
the sun represents it being a sativa. And then same concept all the way around on the back of the card. A little bit of character lore, just kind of like a connect-worthy statement
Right,
about
right.
it. And then the educational aspect. Now, where the education comes from is that when you go on the website, you can actually see the logo of the hybrid sun and moon, the sativa and the indica logo,
Right.
and then the different terpenes. I want to say I took the 9 most dominant terpenes because, like,
There's a lot of them.
yeah, there's a lot, but at the same time, there's like the 9 prominent ones. You know,
Right,
like
right.
limonene, pinene, myrcene, carophyllene, like just those super prominent ones. There was like a unique one. I'd have to look up what the name was. Start with a G. But yeah, just doing that, you know what I mean? And it just benefited that like some of the most all-time popular strains were utilizing
Right,
those
right.
most dominant terpenes, or, as far as a dominant terpene representation. But yeah, you know what I mean? Like creating all that. And this is all created like, I got out of the Marine Corps in September of 2022. And then I dabbled into, my own journey with cannabis in like November of 2022. And then by January of 2023, when I had started school, I was talking with my best friend and, like telling him like that I super appreciate, because he's the one that introduced me, like knowing my own personal dispute with cannabis. And he's like, look, dude, I'm not saying you have to. You know what I mean? Like, just educate yourself and go
Right,
with it
right.
from there. Make your own choice as an adult, but I know your ailments. I know the things that you're struggling with, and it helped me a lot. And it's my best friend, so of course I'm
Right,
going to be
right.
like, well, yeah, I'm going to take your word as a respectful adult,
Right.
And then I did that, and then that's why I was like, okay, this is amazing. How do I connect with people that are like me?
yeah.
This is how I connect with people like me. You know what I mean? Like trading cards, focusing on education, like, and it's hard, like telling people that you're promoting education, like it's hard because what makes you unique, like what makes you unique is that you super focus on mental health, right? With your co-personal company, right? I always pronounce it wrong. I don't want to mess it up.
Which one?
The Cross.
Vindic EU.
I wasn't about to try to EA Sports that, like EA Sports, like, but you know what I mean? I was just like, how am I going to say, hey, and I won't go as far as say cannabis saved my life, because I don't think that I had a mental.
Yeah, I don't remember
Health
bleeding
issues,
out,
like-
and then I smoked cannabis, and then the bleeding stopped,
Yeah,
and then I
you know
just
what I
like
mean?
walked off the battlefield.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah, you know what I mean. But at the same time, like I can understand it in terms of people saying like cannabis really saved my life, because they noticed something in their life, and when they started consuming cannabis, the direction of that changed, right? Whereas you might have been quick to additional substance abuse, you might have been quick to alcohol abuse, like you might have been quick to whatever that could have led you down a very dark path, that I've seen unfortunately very prominent in one side of my family. But like you could have done that, but like, and I can see it, especially for somebody like myself who had essentially an identity crisis when I got out of the Marine Corps, because after 12 years of giving my life to the Marine Corps, I was like, who am I now? You know what I mean? Like what role do I play in this society? And I'm a helper. Like I love helping people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm like, well, what's a good way to help people? And then I was like, okay, I can look into the HR stuff for like business. So then I started college and I started that to be in the business realm, to learn business before I learned the HR side of it, so I can kind of understand contextually both things.
Yep.
And then went this way, and I was just like, yeah, I haven't looked back. And now it's been since like January of 23 that I was just like, okay, this is now. I formed the company January of 2024 after like a year of like messing around, theory building, like trying to learn what even having a business is like. You know what I mean? Because like I was 30 at the time, and I'm like, dude, I know nothing about business.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I don't know how to start a business. I don't know how to operate a bit. You know, nothing. So like I took that year to like learn a lot of the basics and learn as much as I could. And then I was like, when I moved out here from California, I was like, okay, it's time to start this business now. And it's been a phenomenal. I mean, you know, we went to MJ BizCon in December.
Yeah, I mean that's props to you for getting a booth. That's something that I still have not done at NJ BizCon, and that's not a light investment.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was a pretty penny.
Well, my thing is, see, you're in the process of building a brand that has a product that sells. Right now, mine is just education, so there's no return on investment other than just being there. And for $15,000, I wasn't there yet. The and that's just a 10 by 20.
Yeah.
Imagine like what Dry Flower and them do when they do 40 by 40s. Yeah. Or bigger or whatever.
Gorilla company?
Gorilla tent?
No. They were used as like the spotlight company.
No, but MJ BizCon, I will tell you, is a magical place. And if you really want to up your level in just the insight and just the viability and just what's really going on in the cannabis industry, you couldn't pick a better event that's so diverse. It has so much to offer, and whether you're into packaging, consumer goods, manufacturing, education, seeds, agriculture, cultivation. I mean, there's just so many industries and just one place probably. And we have maybe 30 to 40,000 people on the floor in those 2 to 3 days. It's the who's who of cannabis, and I love MJ BizCon. It is exciting to go. It is fun to go, and you just that's how I've met a lot of these people that I interact with now. I met Kyle Cushman in Starbucks at the convention. I was like, you look familiar. And he's like, you look familiar. And I was like, I'm Madman. He's like, I'm Kyle Cushman. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool, dude.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. When I had bumped into him, and I only knew of him because of you.
Oh.
The videos you posted on your.
Dude, I used to watch him back in the day with Kyle Cushman.
Holy cow. Hold on. Can you say that again? You learned about Kyle Cushman through who?
Because of him. Because he would tag him and be like, hey, we got to do a second interview. Hey, we got to do a third interview.
Wow.
And he would talk to him, and I believe you tagged him in something before.
Oh, we collaborated. We talk on a frequent basis. He's a great guy. Great guy.
Oh, yeah. Well, and then I bumped into him there because where his booth where he was sitting on a podcast was straight down from where I was, right over near
you were right there.
Area, right? And I was like, hey, I don't mean to stop you if you got a minute. I was like, I know you, I know your name, because of Madman. And he's like, oh yeah, you know what I mean? It was kind of like that ice breaking moment, to where I was just like, hey, I just wanted to introduce myself and tell you what I do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then we connected, and he followed me back on Instagram, and I was just like, dude, and that's, and I alluded to it. I don't know if it was the first podcast that we did or if it was at the.
I think this is our third podcast. Third or fourth.
Yeah. But dude, having an industry as a veteran, having an industry that brings that collaborative love and that spirit togetherness, like the cannabis industry. And don't get me wrong, there's drama in places, but whatever, right? But having the feeling of collaboration and the willingness to help each other overwhelmingly in the cannabis industry. Oh man, it's phenomenal. It's the closest thing I've felt to the camaraderie that I felt in the Marine Corps. You know what I mean? Minus like the physical bullshittiness of it. Like,
Right.
but which, you know, that's a love in itself, of course. But yeah, like the camaraderie of the cannabis industry when you look at it, and you know, like I said, some people are gonna have a bad experience at times, but as a whole, dude, it's so loving and inviting, and people are so supportive. Like I have yet to run into somebody that has not been honest with me about like what I'm doing. Whether they're saying, man, what you're doing is very daring, but I love it, or if they say like, dude, these are amazing, or like, oh, it's not really my thing. You know what I mean? Like, but everybody's respectful is the thing.
Yeah.
Like, nobody's come up and been like, ah, you're an evil person. Like, you know what I mean? Because everybody understands, like, oh, everybody's got to take their shot. They got to take their chance. Everybody's trying to do something. And if it promotes togetherness and it promotes education and it promotes understanding, like, why would you try to push it down? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Just wondering though, when you say, I talk to people and they're like, oh, it's just not my thing. Like, do you ever do a follow-up question like, why? Because like, why is it not your thing? Like, because that's like, it could be like, I tried it, it wasn't for me, or is this like, oh no, it's illegal and I don't want to turn into a bat and fly away, you know, and
yeah,
whatnot.
No, it's a little bit of both, and more so in regard to the product.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're not a card collector, or they're not like, you know what I mean? They don't like that type of thing. Okay. But yeah, just in cannabis in general. I mean, again, like I spoke to earlier, like I was a huge hater of cannabis for a long time, especially for me, like growing up just outside of Humboldt County, California. Like, it was so demonized where I was as a kid, which is weird because that's where it all kind of
was like the Mecca.
Yeah, it is. But I mean, traditional conservative family, very Christian based values.
Okay.
You know, like, you can't because it's bad. You know, like all of it, right? But like I just have that conversation, and what a lot of people love about the cannabis industry as well is that nobody's trying to shove it down your throat.
Right.
You know what I mean? If you're genuinely like, hey, no, I'm good. I don't, you know what I mean? I don't subscribe to cannabis. I don't, you know, whether you don't agree with it, don't like it,
right.
Whatever, right? Nobody's going to be like, no, but you have to. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? It's like, okay, then that's fine. Like, thank you for taking the moment out of your day to listen to me. You know what I mean?
Right.
And if you gained anything from this, good. And if you didn't, okay. You know what I mean? But like, I just want people to have the opportunity to educate themselves. Because I feel like that's a big part of it as well, is that people are so afraid to hit the Google search bar and say, what is THC?
Yeah.
What is a terpene? What is the medicinal da-da-da? You know, they're so afraid to do that.
Well, they may not even know that THC is what gets them high.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
Yeah.
they're just like, oh, it's weed, it's pot, it's it's marijuana, but they may not even have that association with it being THC.
Yep.
So they may not even. I mean, you don't know what you don't know. So
Yeah.
they don't even know how to look for it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why all of their, and again, I won't always say never, but like the overwhelming thought process with the artwork that I utilize is going to be so not cannabis image heavy, because I want somebody to see the character and say, what is that? Instead of looking at it and saying, oh, that's about that, and they instantly walk away from it. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I like SFGOG, San Fernando Valley.
Yeah.
Especially being like from California, you know, knowing there's like some super hippie.
Right. No, I mean, like the artwork in these is amazing. I'm not particularly like a card collector. Like I'm a little old for Pokemon.
Yeah.
Not that I'm saying it's above me or below me.
No.
I wasn't, But like just like those pins, you know, like I'm not a pin collector, but like I will fucking set my alarm for 4:20 on a certain day
Yeah.
to get in line and get this guy's genetics.
Yeah.
Because he's got fire genetics, and the artwork is beautiful.
Yeah.
You know, so it's
Yeah, I think Soulfire does. I don't want to misquote, but I think they do like when they sell a seed, it comes with
yep.
a trading card.
Yeah, you
Or
watch
like
my,
a
you
few
can watch
trading
my
cards.
interview. We talk about it.
Yeah, and then there's Cannabeast. Cannabeast is really cool because they have.
I've
where
interviewed
it's
them
like,
too.
Yeah, theirs is like the Yu-Gi-Oh, and I don't want to misquote the game that they've kind of structured similar to.
right.
But like it's like that Yu-Gi-Oh turn-based, like I attack you, we build, like we do all that, right? And I loved that. That's just not my space.
Right.
To where I'm not the guy that can go and create an entire game out of it, right? I can give you the character as a beautiful representation of the strain as a character, and then give you the education. But I don't want to say can't, but like I'm not going to build this into a game in the foreseeable future, because it's like there's so much that goes with that, and especially being somebody that's been involved in the trading card community of like trading card games. What happens a lot of times, and it's similar in the sports card side, like if Pat Mahomes was to break his leg tomorrow and never be able to play another football down,
Here,
like
I'm just kidding.
the value of his cards tank because he can't do more with his legacy.
Right.
It's like the song by Marilyn Manson, Rockstar. They says they love you when you're on top of all the covers, but when you're not, they love another.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's so in the sports side of it, like it's all performance based,
Right.
which is why I decided to structure it like a sports card, because it's all performance based on the strain. You know what I mean? So then when we get to a certain point to where we're more known, like I won't say nationally, but nationally at the same time, like to where we can say, hey, what is your favorite character, and not your favorite strain, right? Because you can have your favorite strain. Your favorite strain is Blue Dream, White Widow, because of what it does for you, the flavor, like how it grows, everything, right? But then you have your favorite character, which bleeds another algorithmic line into the education. Yeah, and it's like with the trading card game, like I said, like Cannabeast has a game, which again is phenomenal. The value of the card goes based on the usability. So like Charizard was super popular because he was stupid strong, and you know what I mean, whatever, right? And the usability of him is a very valuable use in the game. Then you have to be able to create that, as well as create second, third, fourth year things that either enhance, feed into, like it's just so much to it. I was like, there's no way I'm gonna ever be able to make a game out of this personally and be emotionally invested in the game and the educational aspect.
Yeah.
Because people are gonna be focusing on the game compared to the education, in my opinion. So I was like, and I want the education.
Right.
So I was like, I'm
Well,
falling in love with that.
well, you think about it, right? You have Pokemon and the show. People were invested in the story.
Yep.
When I used to go to the back in the day, in the early days, you go to the mall and they would have trading card leagues, and you could win actual like little pin badges for playing. And they weren't talking about the storyline; they were talking about the game. So in a way, you're correct. You know, it's either you're investing in both, which one has to be developed at the other.
Yeah.
You know, it'd be interesting to see with Pokemon which came actually first. Was it the trading cards or was it the story?
Yeah.
Because they both supported each other.
Yeah. Well, and that, I mean,
And
Pokemon
then the games.
so unique.
Yeah. Because you had digital, you had card, and then you had a show.
Yeah. So, yeah, there's a reason why Pokemon is still standing, because of how unique it was, and the flexibility of characters and storytelling and like all of that. And that's why I'm doing this in the cannabis industry. Like if I can, and I mean, I'm just going to, positive affirmation, win.
Yeah, you should always do that when
my goal ultimately is to become like the Marvel meets Pokemon of the cannabis industry.
Oh, yeah.
So where you have flexibility of storytelling with characters, you have flexibility of marketing with characters, like all of it.
Nice.
And it just allows you, again, to, like I said before, branch out at such an extreme level that, yes, the character arc of, like, the anime, the story that I'm telling, like, that's going to be the cornerstone of everything. But at the end of the day, it's going to be the storytelling behind all the characters and everything that wraps into and around what cannabis is. You know what I mean? And then you get to a point where you allow for some creative development and you get some more money and you say, hey, we're going to start an arc specifically about Super Lemon Haze or Bubblegum or Purple Punch. Like, the reason I created Purple Punch, and here, let's open up some more and see if we can find all of them but one, actually. So we'll keep this one here.
Which one are you looking for?
Purple Punch. So
we know there's not a purple punch.
Yeah.
Right?
So the
Darn
reason why I
here.
created Purple Punch, in the way that I created it, and I tried to reach out to the.
Wait, this is the one we're saving, right?
No, I have that
Oh,
right
okay.
here. I tried to. Nope, I don't got it. Fruity Pebbles OG.
Nice.
Honey,
But
I love you.
I tried to reach out to the Last Prisoner project because I wanted Purple Punch to be a character that represents breaking out of that imprisonment. You know what I mean? To where you can start an entire character arc on him as well and telling that story from a representation level. Like, there's just so much that I've channeled and written down and wrote as a possibility of
it's Purple
expansion
Urkel.
with all of these characters. So Mimosa's the classy. Yeah, he's classy.
My most.
And you know, the thing for me, wait right now, like I've grown this strain.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like for me, like I saw that and that like took me back to
Yeah.
like that grow. That's fucking awesome.
You can have that.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
I'm not,
yeah, whatever-
like,
no,
I'm
whatever
not,
we open
like,
today, you can
I'm
keep
not a
it,
card
like-
collector, but like that just did something for me.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, like that's
Well,
that's magic.
And when we were in Vegas, we actually met the creator.
He's gonna cry a little bit off camera.
We actually met the owner or the creator of Tropicana Cookies.
You need to get that rated. That's a PSA 10.
Yeah.
Like, we met the creator of Tropicana Cookies, and he had stopped by the booth. It was the last day. Everybody was like slowly shutting down. And he comes through and he's like, hey, do you guys have Tropicana Cookies? And, you know, we kind of rummaged on the table a little bit to try and find it. And he's like, dude, this is amazing. Who did this? And I told him, like, you know, like, I have my artist and I conceptualize a lot to him and he creates it. And he was like, well, hi. And I feel like an a-hole because I don't remember his name. He's like, I'm so-and-so and I'm the one who created Tropicana Cookies. And I was just like, oh, wow. Like, to get the owner of the strain, you know, the creator of the strain to be like, hey, this is phenomenal as a representation of it. I was like, dude, that's all I need. You know, the last day wrapping up, just kind of like that out the door high five.
Yep.
Hey, you're still doing good, you know? And I loved MJ BizCon, like the networking there.
But that's the power of MJ BizCon
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah.
Is to be able to have a conversation like that and be right in front of who knows who.
Yeah. Well, and like for me, it was like, yeah, the booth was pricey, 100%. Like for the 10x10, it was like $8,000.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's just the booth. That's not the things you have to put in the booth, the promotional stuff. You know what I mean? Like
The shipping, the game.
yeah, all of it, right? Well, that's why I drove. I wasn't about to do that. But
I can't believe you drove.
the networking there, granted, you know, the full return on investment, but the opportunity to build a relationship through networking there. You know what I mean? And then it's all based on how you capitalize on it as a business owner.
100%.
So, because a lot of people would be like, oh, I went to MJ BizCon and didn't get anything from it. And I'm like, well, what did you do? You know what I mean? Like,
Charlie says, I love it when you get validation for your creation.
Yeah.
Congratulations, man.
yeah, appreciate it.
You know,
Yeah.
the other thing is that like we've opened up how many packs? 5 packs or
Yeah.
so, and there are no doubles. I mean, other than the holograms.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Yeah,
I mean
'cause those
that's
are
because
kinda-
they're kind of special.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, like other than that, like, yeah, these are like randomized.
Yeah, yeah. So, and that's the other thing too about having, in total now, I want to say I have like 130 characters and with, you know, like I said before, like some characters represent thrips, some characters represent spider mites, like things like that, to where it also feeds into the actual culture of cannabis. You know what I mean? To where you're like, oh, the spider mite character, like, you know, I had spider mites once and I hated it, but that's cool looking character. You know what I mean? Like, so, and it, again, it just feeds all back into the educational approach of what I'm trying to do is you can educate from a basic level, but then also you're going to have this cool kind of homage to the common things that are in the cannabis community, and that's grow issues. You know what I mean? Like, because I wish I had my computer, but I don't. Try to call me. Nobody important.
No one likes powdery mildew.
Yeah. Well, and that's here. I think I'll show you that. I'm pretty sure I have that on here. Boop, 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 boop. Mold. Oh, shit.
We got about 13 minutes left on the podcast anyway, so.
Yeah, like this was the mildew character, right?
Looks friggin' evil. I'm gonna have
Right.
nightmares.
So-
Fuck.
Well, no, look, you know, it's just this like evil, like cynical, like, damn, I,
I
don't
wanna-
want you on my
I
plant.
want to be
you know?
seduced.
So
Clearly, I'm assuming she's one of the bad guys.
yes, and this character
Take
represents
advantage
fear.
of me.
Okay. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was one of the characters that, like,
That's cool.
yeah. So, and I mean, I watched, like, I love the Black Clover, so I took like influence from that anime, Dragon Ball, of course, in terms of like, you know, superhero don't quit strong, you know, like comeback kind of guy. But then again, there's like themes in shows that I've picked up as well. That it'll be like, say the antagonist is like super staunch in his ways, and they have a minion, and that minion ends up betraying them in some type of roundabout way because they had a revelation that, you know, the bad guy really wasn't the bad guy, and like it just
Right.
kind of comes full circle, and that happens a lot in movies. And I'm like, well, why not pick up on that theme and say, hey, here's another brain trigger to familiarity in the TV series. You know what I mean? But the way I've spaced them out too is like to where it's not going to be like this thing happens, this thing happens, this thing happens, and then you're like, all that happened and I know nothing about this show.
Right.
And that's kind of the focal point of having to be 5 seasons, is that it's going to allow for a lot of character development, storytelling, and then build up to that phenomenal end of show like moment. You know what I mean?
We have a question. Have you had issues trying to set up your cannabis business? It took me almost 6 months to find a bank to hold our money and another 6 months to find a POS system. Piece of shit.
Yeah. Point of sale, yeah.
I'm just kidding. And I just found out Square revoked our account yesterday. I have to defend myself before, but this time it feels different.
Yeah. At first, I had an issue because of the verbiage I was using. So I was saying, hey, this is a cannabis trading card. And the first bank I went to was Chase, and they were like, nope, because you said the word cannabis. And I'm just like, well, I'm just being honest, right? And then the bank that I went to that I have now currently was like, hey, you just have collectibles. You're no different than like Spencer's. And I was just like, oh, that's a phenomenal way to look at it, in terms of that. Or like, you know, essentially kind of like a smoke shop that has trading cards, right? So it's probably very unique to what you have in the Canna Scoops, and maybe potentially how it's labeled and or listed, to where you might just have to change the verbiage of something. So like they said, stop saying cannabis trading cards, just say trading cards. And that might be part of it, is just fix the verbiage somewhere if you're allowed to or capable of doing that. And that could make a world of difference. I had Square first, and then I wasn't a big fan of them, so now I went to Stripe, even though Stripe has a little bit different in terms of like point of sale. But they also have the phone app to where you can do point of sale as well,
Yeah.
and they can tap on your phone and stuff. So I didn't have to pay the like $50 or $100 for like a machine to
Right.
take and connect and do all that. So yeah, I mean, he said something else.
Oh man, that is terrible. I hate that we have to fold to the stigma. I had to tell them
Yeah.
I was a coffee scoop.
Yeah, no, I get that, right? And you
I
know,
mean, you should market that too. Shit,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know.
You know, hey man,
Espresso
I like
scoop.
my
exactly.
micro dosing of coffee.
yeah,
You should just rebrand it. You know.
rebranded as Snuff Scoops.
Well, Canatrol has the regular Canatrol for
Yeah.
cannabis, and they have Vaportrol, which is their other company, and that targets cheese and meats for restaurant facilities and other
Same
things.
technology though.
Well, it is the same technology
Yeah,
because it was originally designed for cheese and meats,
Oh.
and it was developed. So, like the whole unit, the Canatrol unit, was actually developed to show home growers that it would work. That unit actually wasn't designed to be sold like that. They sell the big walk-in units that hold 8 to 1,600 pounds of cannabis. Well, anyways, they created this on a small scale, and that's how that was born. But yeah, so David, the owner, and Jane, his wife, they have I think 19 patents. He's been doing stuff. He created the dual thermostat for GE or something like that back in the day.
Nice.
Yeah. They're awesome people.
Yeah,
Canatrol's a great company, but yeah, just like that, it's just you just adapt things, and that's what I'm saying. Like with this could easily be an espresso scoop, and it's the same fucking thing.
Yeah.
You just market it to espresso users.
You found that out by talking to your banker, right? Like Chase didn't want to play, but the one bank that you went to, he took your time, and was kind of thoughtful in the process to help you. And I just want to throw out that if you are a small business owner or if you're looking to be a small business, talking to bankers can be really helpful. When I started my company a long time ago, I talked to a banker and he was like, "Oh, well, do you have your LLC?" And I was like, "No." And he's like, "Oh, don't worry, I'll set it up for you." I was like, "Okay."
Yeah.
Score,
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know if bankers get like super bonus points for setting up business accounts, but they will help you. So I mean, they can be very helpful.
Yeah, for sure. I went through LegalZoom just because it was crazy simple.
Right.
You know what I mean? Granted, they have some flaws that whatever. But it was just so simple to do it through them as a beginning. And then when I get to where I want to be financially, then it's okay, I can pay for someone else to do all this stuff.
Right.
On a higher quality.
The banker didn't charge me. He did that for free. No. He did that to set the account up. The value to him was setting up the account. So that's why I don't know if maybe at the time, maybe the bank gave you a bonus if you signed up a business.
Gotcha.
Gotcha. But yeah, no, it didn't come as a cost to me. So bankers can be very helpful.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, we'll get you connected with whoever you want. Don't trust any of them. They're all sketch.
Yeah.
So we got about 5 minutes left on the podcast. So to wrap it up, anything else that we need to know about legendary Leafies that we haven't already discussed or anything?
I mean, outside of moving to Florida and kind of being at I don't even want to say delay because I don't have a major plan in terms of a release date.
Yep.
But outside of moving, things are going well. Still script writing with the anime right now. And to those of you that are listening, like Charlie specifically, I'd love to work with you. I think it would be phenomenal. And, more so again, we've talked about networking, you know what I mean? I love to network because networking leads to new networking.
Yes.
Right.
And then next thing you know, and I'm a shot taker.
Yep.
I'll ask the president a question before I ask somebody lower just to be
oh yeah, you should.
What are you
Yes.
gonna say? No.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll go to the next guy down.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna. You know what I mean? And I love figuring out where that median is and playing with that. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'd say the biggest thing is like the entire representation of this company is don't be afraid to take a risk, take a shot. You know what I mean? Like what's the worst that's gonna say? No. What's the best that's gonna say? Maybe, or not yet, or
Right,
you know what I
right.
mean? Like it just gives you something to strive for and gives you something to have effort towards. And especially when it's the passion of cannabis education, because it performs such a great service in my life and my own mental health,
Yep.
my own physical health. Having been a hater, you know what I mean? Like I'm that testimony of I hate it, man. This is actually amazing, and I just was ignorant to things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
and I'm a casual, like a couple times a week, maybe. You know what I mean? Like I'm not like, but I can still see like, yo, this is so incredible.
He's not like us.
Yeah.
No, no.
You ain't like us.
Bunch of stoner. No. Don't get me wrong. Now that my wife's done with her training, then I'm gonna kind of be doing it more. But
Hell yeah.
yeah, you know what I mean. Like I love the educational approach behind it, and that's really all I'm trying to do. Especially being a Marine Corps veteran, seeing the veteran health epidemic with mental health, and obviously the PTSD and suicide numbers being crazy high in the veteran community. Like if I can figure out a way as an attempt to
Yep.
try and make those numbers lower or as non-existent as possible, then I'm going to do that. You know what I mean? Like, am I going to have as large as an impact as someone with millions of dollars? I don't know.
Right.
But if I can get to that point, then absolutely. You know what I mean? Like, I'm so invested into mental health, veteran mental health, and just helping people.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, so, but that's kind of it. You know what I mean? It's like, don't be afraid to take shots at things. If you have a product, an idea, I mean, shoot, look at Canna Scoops. Like, that was an idea that somebody said, hey, let's try it. And now look at them.
Yeah,
You know what
yeah.
I mean? Like, so, yeah, just run with it. Just try it. Try. Like, that's going to be the biggest thing is to try. Otherwise, you're going to be sitting there for 10 years when somebody does it later. Man, I had that idea.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
because I oftentimes think, I'm like, how many people had a similar idea to this or this exactly?
Yeah.
And then just said, nah, that'll never work. You know what I mean? And the universe has this wonderful thing of making it happen to where this little flower seed
Yeah,
said,
yeah.
here you go. Here's
Yeah,
an idea.
yeah.
Do this. Like, so. but
Where you
that's
look
kinda-
at something and you're like, wow, that was so simple. Why couldn't I have thought of that? And it's like, dude, you thought of 10 other friggin' things, but,
Yeah.
you just didn't realize you could capitalize on it,
Yeah.
you?
Yeah, having so there's a two-part mindset. One is having an adaptive and ever-changing ability type of mindset, meaning it allows for product expansion and everything like that, but then also having an employer mindset, right? Because that typically as an employee, you're there, you feel like you're there to serve and just
Yeah,
do your
yeah.
job and go home, right? But if you have an employer mindset, that allows you to see a lot of different things from the potential from an executive level, and says, hey, work stuff aside, I have a mission and a goal, and these things need to be accomplished.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, very cool. All right, guys. We will be back with more content later throughout this weekend. We got Master Yoda. Tell them where they can find you.
You can find me at Master Yoda 207 on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, X, or YouTube. You can also find me at Master Yoda dash. I don't know. What did I just say? Oh, shit.
Master Yoda 206 or 27.
Yeah, I'm a little. Yeah, it's been a long day. You can find me.
And where can people get involved with the actual product? What is available now if somebody wanted something from Legendary Leafies?
Right now, so I have the purchasability right now shut off because I'm in the process of moving and don't want to unpack everything.
Fair enough.
But the website is the foundation of where everything's going to be, to include educational things within there. And then Instagram, realistically, is where in my opinion, where the majority of popular growth I would love to see it there. You know what I mean? Like, so
Yeah.
just Legendary Leafies on Instagram, and you'll know which one it is. It's the only one.
Perfect.
You know what I mean? Like,
Guys, it's been a pleasure. SmokeBusters podcast here with Madman Plant. We will see you guys very, very soon. Peace.